You look at a map of America and think, big country, coast to coast, farms in the middle, cities on the edges. It looks like someone sat down and planned it that way. Nobody did. Not a single person alive when this country was founded had any idea what they were sitting on top of. Underneath that map is an accident. A river system nobody built, nobody designed, and nobody could have planned around because when it formed, there was no America to plan for. And that accident is quietly worth more than most of the country's factories combined. Somewhere in the Rocky Mountains right now, a single drop of rain is landing on a mountainside. It has no idea what it is about to become part of. It will not stay a raindrop for long. Within hours, it becomes part of something far bigger than itself. Something that will eventually touch farms, factories, and dinner tables on the other side of the planet. Follow it, and you will understand why America turned out this way. You will also understand why almost nobody who lives here ever stops to notice the thing sitting right underneath their feet. That raindrop slides into a creek. The creek joins a stream. The stream joins a river, and that river joins another, until it is moving with the Ohio, the Missouri, the Illinois, and the Tennessee. All of it becomes one connected system, all heading the same direction, toward the same exit. This is the Mississippi River System. Not one river, a network. More than 12,000 miles of it are commercially navigable, with a deep channel kept open for barges along nearly 1,800 miles between the Gulf of Mexico and Minneapolis. It drains land that covers 40% of the contiguous United States. Lay that basin over Europe, and it would swallow France, Germany, and Poland, with room left over. Follow that same drop of water further south, and it passes places most people could not point to on a map. Cairo, Illinois, where the Ohio pours in and roughly doubles the Mississippi's flow overnight. Memphis, where cotton and grain have changed hands on the docks for 2 centuries. Baton Rouge, ringed with refineries that turn Midwest crops into a good chunk of what ends up on an American grocery shelf. Today, we're following that one raindrop all the way to the ocean. Along the way, you'll see how a piece of geography, something nobody engineered, turned into one of the biggest economic advantages any country has ever had. And you'll see the strange, almost accidental deal that made sure America, and not some other government, ended up owning it. So how does a river nobody designed end up worth more than most countries' entire transportation systems? It starts with a raindrop in Montana. It ends with a French emperor who needed cash fast, and a decision made in such a hurry that the men who made it did not even have permission to make it. Here's why the raindrop matters first. Moving cargo by water is absurdly cheap. Picture a single barge, longer than a football field. It carries roughly what 60 trucks carry. Chain barges together, which happens constantly. And a single tow can move the freight of an entire highway, burning a fraction of the fuel. Moving bulk goods by water can cost many times less per mile than trucking, with some estimates putting the savings at close to 30 times for the right commodity and route. A farmer in Iowa does not need 1,000 miles of highway to reach the world market. He needs a short drive to the nearest river landing. After that, gravity and current do the work for free, the same way they have for millions of years, long before anyone thought to lay a mile of railroad track. Think about what that means. Multiply that one farmer by hundreds of thousands, spread across a basin the size of Western Europe, and the savings stop being personal. They become national. But cheap transportation only matters if you can actually use the whole system, start to finish, without stopping at a border or paying a toll to a stranger. And that is where this story turns strange. Every drop of water in that basin, all of it, drains down to one single point: New Orleans. Whoever controls that one city controls the exit for an entire continent's farms, mines, and factories. For years, the United States did not control it. That door belonged to Spain, then quietly to France, after Napoleon took it back through a secret treaty most Americans never heard about. Farmers west of the mountains were, in a real sense, hostages. Their income depended on a foreign government deciding year to year whether to let their boats through. In 1802, Spain revoked the American right to store and ship goods through the port. Overnight, U.S. trade through New Orleans was effectively shut down. It nearly started a war. So Jefferson sent men to Paris with one job: buy New Orleans. Just the city, just the door. He was ready to pay a few $1 million for it. That was the entire plan. Then Napoleon changed the offer. He needed cash fast for a war back home, and he had already lost an army trying to hold on to the Caribbean. So instead of selling one city, he offered the whole territory behind it. $15 million, about 3 cents an acre. Napoleon could change his mind any day, and the American negotiators did not even have permission from Congress to buy that much land. There was no time to ask. They signed anyway. Jefferson was not buying wilderness. He was buying the lock on his own country's front door, and every acre of farmland that would ever need to pass through it. Once that door was secured, the core of the river system, from source to sea, sat inside one government, one currency, with no tolls and no foreign checkpoints standing in the way. Full control of every tributary took decades more, and it came at the expense of the indigenous nations who were already living there. That alone would be a good story. But here's the part that should catch you off guard. If a big river alone made a country rich, this would not be rare. Half the countries on Earth have one. So why does this river work differently? Look at the Danube. It crosses 10 countries, and each one takes a cut. Look at the Congo River, broken into pieces by waterfalls no barge can cross. Look at the Nile, shared by 11 nations who argue over its water every year. Even the Amazon, which drains a larger area than the Mississippi, flows mostly through sparsely populated rainforest, passing only a handful of major cities like Manaus and Belém along its entire length. Having a river was never the hard part for any of these countries. Using the whole thing, start to finish, without asking anyone's permission, was. The Mississippi is one of the very few river systems this size that never has to ask. More than 660 million tons of cargo move down it every year. Grain, soybeans, coal, and fuel floating past towns most people could not find on a map. About 60% of all U.S. grain exports travel this river to reach the Gulf, and the wider river basin produces more than 90% of everything the country grows for export. The Army Corps of Engineers estimates the river saves American shippers several $billion a year, by some counts as much as $12 billion, compared to trucking the same freight, generated by nothing but gravity. Follow that cargo far enough and it lands somewhere you would not expect. A feedlot in Mexico, a bakery in Egypt, baking bread from wheat that started as rain on a Montana mountainside. Entire countries with no river of their own end up depending on one they will never see, run by a government they never voted for. Now think about what happens if that river stops flowing the way it always has. In 2022, and again in 2023, drought dropped the water so low that barges had to carry lighter loads or stop moving completely. Freight prices spiked overnight. For a few months, the door Jefferson bought for 3 cents an acre nearly jammed shut on its own, with no foreign power left to blame. Go back to that map of America. Coast to coast, farms in the middle, cities on the edges. It still looks planned. It never was. A river system that would be priceless anywhere else on Earth happened to form in exactly the right shape, inside exactly the right borders, emptying into exactly the right port. No committee sat down and decided the Ohio should meet the Mississippi at Cairo, or that the whole system should drain neatly into one port a young country could someday buy. America is not sitting on the most valuable river system in human history because it made smart decisions. It made one smart decision, in a hurry, without asking permission first. It is sitting on this river because geology does not read maps, and it happened to draw its lines in exactly the right place, long before there was a country there to claim them. Somewhere in Montana right now, another raindrop is already falling toward the same door,